Welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord and especially battlefield tactics and advanced field command, and we have a challenge here on our hands. We are going to try a custom battle series of very difficult challenges where we're going to try fighting enemy forces with no tier 5 and no tier 6 units. Of course, this is inspired by our Peasants Revolt and by our Weak Army series, and as you can see here, the Battanians don't have any of their elite troops, and the Empire has all of their elite troops, right? We have no tier 5 or 6, and the enemy has all of their tier 5 and 6. Now, we have the same amount of troops, or basically the same amount of troops, and of course, we are going to attempt to bridge this divide with tactics, right? We are going to kite. We have Battania, right? They have, in my opinion, by far the best ability to kite and kill box out of all the different divisions, all the different kingdoms rather, and I think this is going to have a pretty good chance here of being successful. Again, we have no high tier units. That means we don't have the Battanian Fiends, we don't have the Battanian Fiend champs, we don't have the wildlings, we don't have the elite Battanian units to combat the enemy here. Meanwhile, they're going to have Imperial Cataphracts and Legionnaires and Bucellarii and whatnot. They're going to have probably, if I had to make a guess at it, and we'll look at the end at the statistics, but I would guess that they have about 130 or 140 tier 5 and tier 6 units, and we don't have any. And of course, this is partly a response to people who are curious about the Peasants Revolt, who've watched us beat superior opponents over and over again with this mediocre army with peasants and militia and whatnot. Is this actually possible without the leadership of Zuvan and the rest of the captains that are in my campaign? And I think this will explain definitively that the answer is yes. With correct tactics, with advanced tactics, you can defeat much higher ranking armies, right? I think these challenges are all going to be extremely difficult, right? Obviously, if you just F1, F3 these battles, you would get utterly destroyed. But I think at least we're going to make these battles close. And again, what do we have, right? We have highborn, here, look, highborn warriors, youth, and they have elite cataphract, elite monapolitan, sergeant crossbowmen, palatine guard. The evidence is right there that we have a very weak army. All right, so the 8th Corps is an addition to this. Normally I don't run an 8th Corps with this, and it may fuck me up a little bit. It's already starting to wig my commands out a little bit, but that's an Archer Corps. The 1st and 4th is going to hold our center, and we will offset them as the enemy comes in. Fans and friends of the channel, of course, are well aware of the kill box. This is a savage tactic that I've basically been perfecting at this stage. I've done it dozens of times now for videos, and I can do it virtually in my sleep. And we have done overheads of this. I'm not going to do this particular instance with an overhead, although we may do some of these challenges with overhead views. I've done the kill box extensively with overhead views, and I'm not going to do that here to explain to show it, but I am going to explain it. And the main idea is the main enemy vanguard we are going to suck in. We're going to allow them to attack our center. We're going to fall back as these fucks come up to attack us, and then we're going to pound them from all sides with skirmishers, with archers, and finally a combined melee skirmisher and archer attack to destroy them. Now this is Legionnaires, right? This is monapolitans. On the sides here, they're attacking our highborn warriors and whatnot, our woodsmen. You can see these guys, half these fucks aren't even wearing shirts, and they're attacking them with the elite cataphracts, right? Look at these guys. They got barmaids, aprons on, and shit like that. And the death spam already looks not so good, right? We're losing troops left and right. I don't think we've scored a single kill. If you look up at the power bar, it basically says we're going to lose for sure. And I don't know if we can win these, right? I'm going to share these if there's enough tactics to make it worthwhile, even if we lose. And it looks bad early on here, but now the kiting process is going to start, right? These guys, of course, they're shooting at the Legionnaires' shield wall, and it's not hurting anybody. But once the enemy starts to chase in to our main center flank here, and we start hitting them on the edges, we're going to be able to start doing major damage to that division. I apologize for my narration. Tends to suffer when I'm giving orders to 8 different units like this. I guess it's 7 different units effectively. All right. So the 1st and 4th is now pulling back. I want the enemy to charge our center. In fact, this is the same tactics that Hannibal used at the Battle of Cannae. He sucked the Romans in and then attacked them hard on the flanks. It basically looked like he was making his army rout when all he really was doing is making the enemy over pursue. Okay, so they're close to our 4th Corps here, and let me show you how close these guys are. Look at this. That's the margin of death, right? Those guys were feet from being devoured by that Legion Air Force. In fact, that was as close as you can probably press it. Now we're going to start kiting. Now the skirmishers, the 6th Division, we're moving in behind the enemy. Why? Because they have javelins. I want these guys chucking javelins, and you can see the javelins flying over my shoulder, chucking javelins into the backs of these legionnaires and elite Manabliatons. Now the elite Manabliatons in particular are fucked because they don't have shields. At least the legionaries have this shield, and they can guard themselves somewhat. Now, that archer division over there has been completely destroyed. Usually that doesn't happen when I try this, but the enemy has so much better cavalry than us I guess that's the 5th Division over there is all but dead. But the 4th here is in strong, nice form. This is the 8th. The 8th looks really good, and the skirmishers continue to move in on them. And again, they are forming, fans of the channel, the traditional fishball, right? The infantry over here, those guys are throwing axes and javelins and stuff like that. There's basically 4 or 5 different units at this stage attacking the enemy from range, right? So the legionaries and the elite Manabliatons, they can't get to us. They can't use their big, nasty Manabliaton. They might as well just be called blank, right, for the elite Manabliaton, because they're not going to be able to use it. They might as well throw it at us. They would have more success. And look at the death spam. All of a sudden, it's all green, even though we're killing elite cataphracts and heavy horsemen and, you know, higher level troops than ours. We're smoking them with our highborn youth and Battanian heroes and whatnot. We don't have any elite troops, but we're making it work. All right, now it's time to devour this force by force with melee. I'm calling in these units, and there's a little bit of delicacy here, right? I'm actually going to back up the 1st Division here. What I want these units all closing in at roughly the same time, so that all of these units swallow up this force all together. In come the skirmishers. The cav unit charges from behind. The 1st Infantry barrels in, and look at the death spam, right? That's elite units getting completely destroyed by highborn youths, skirmishers. In fact, they're routing, right? They got completely smoked. These archers are absolutely tearing up everything in sight. The 4th Corps in this battle especially has done incredible damage, and the vanguard is liquidated, right? That was, I'll have to go back and look, but I think that was something like 260 Imperial infantry, including probably 100, maybe 120 elite infantry, and it's gone. It's all dead. These archers are exhibiting very strange behavior. It looks suicidal, and I think they're actually routing. I think this battle has been so lopsided. Maybe they're charging? I can't tell what they're doing, but it wouldn't have mattered, right? We have so many archers at this stage. They were going to be devoured anyhow, but they charged the lion's den. You hear a bunch of screaming, and then there's silence because the people who charged the lion's den are killed, right? They charged our infantry. They charged our shock troops. That was never going to go well for them. You see our Falksmen are racking up the kills. Now that's like our strongest unit. That's a tier 4 unit, the Falksmen, the Battanian heroes. Of course, these tier 4 units did some good work. And maybe, just maybe, we'll try a tier 3 and only challenge. Just lop that guy's head off. Wouldn't that be insane, folks, if we could defeat this army with tier 3 and under? I mean, that would be unreal. But nevertheless, we're gonna try a few other challenges in this episode. We will try, I think we'll try a battle against heavy cav and show you that you can destroy heavy cav with mediocre troops as well. And then, as long as it doesn't run too long, we will also take on the Khuzait and try to maul the Khuzait using some pincher tactics, using shield and shock. And more advanced tactics, and continue just to own the fucking enemy here. Sergeant crossbowmens and heavy horse and cataphracts heading for the exit, getting nobly beat down by our tier 3, tier 4, and tier 2 army. Pack sand, motherfuckers. You guys got crushed. You keep running there, elite cataphract. I'm of the belief that the kill box is one of the best tactics in Bannerlord, and look at this. We had almost 60% troops survive. Actually, I think mathematically that is 60%, right? 260. No, okay, so 52%. It seems like more than that. We had 226 losses though, and killed 405. Right? We destroyed a much stronger force here. Look at the Leapman Abeletons. They got 1 kill. That's the only guy they reached, and they lost all of their troops, 39 guys, and they got beat down by like Battanian raiders and stuff like that. The kill box to me is if you can master it, is the best tactic in Bannerlord. It's just absolutely savage. All right, so let's do, I'm just going to set this up on the fly. Sometimes I skip this, but I should be able to configure this real quick, and you can get an idea of what I'm doing. I can also talk you through this a little bit. Now we're giving the Battanians, I'm giving the Battanians all of their unit trees. That way they can access the Banner Knights and the Sharpshooters and the Sergeants and whatnot. And we will continue to fight with our weak-ass units here. Now let's try... so people don't think it's just the Battanians that are overpowered. Let's try the Aserai here. Let's do just Aserai tier 4 and under, right? No tier 5 units in our army. That means no master archers, right? We're just going to fight with tier 4 and below. That means no veteran. That means no Vanguard Ferris or veteran Ferris, right? All of their best troops, of course, we will say we don't need you. We're good to go without. Let's see. We give the Valandians in a more appropriate a line here of what you would normally see, a heavy cav laden army, right? We're gonna give them almost 50% heavy cav. That means lots of Banner Knights, lots of champions and whatnot trying to charge us down. Now we'll give them an appropriate captain here. No, that's not right. Doesn't matter too much. Let's just any old captain actually. And again, we're gonna fight in the open so that you can see this nice and easy. Let's configure the Aserai forces here a little bit better too. It doesn't matter particularly too much, but for this particular strategy against heavy horse, what I'm going to try to do is annihilate them with shock troops, right? We are going to set up, people, friends of the channel, again, a lot of these tactics are not that new. Unless if you've seen all the videos, of course, on the channel, well, I congratulate you. You are dedicated. You and I must be like kindred spirits. But this tactic here is not something I see all over YouTube. We're going to use a shield and shock approach. We're also going to clog the enemy up by using a triangle formation, at which point their cav is really going to be slowed down. And even if they start charging our sides, we're still going to be able to inflict massive damage in them. So we're going to have 3 different infantry divisions. We're going to have, let's see, the first... How am I going to set this up? I want 3 different infantry divisions, so we'll set up the 7th Cav here as one of our 2 Cav wings. It can be the weaker of the 2 wings. That's not vital to the strategy. You can have identical Cav wings. But the third here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to emphasize high-tiered units, and when you zoom in now, you see all these two-handed axe murdering motherfuckers. Now those guys are vulnerable, as I've described in other episodes, other tactical episodes. We're going to use a shield and shock approach, right? We're going to protect those guys. We're going to slow down the enemy units and enemy cav before they get to those shock troops, and then we're going to unleash those guys, right? We're going to fucking let them loose and just have them, tell them to fucking murder everything in sight. And the concept of this is what I'm building right here. It's basically a triangle defense. We do that because the enemy does tend to... Let's see, let's split our archers up here too. I like to have a bait archer division behind our forces. Generally, I like to have the weakest, very weakest of the archers way back here. And what they do is sort of distract the enemy, but they also just get pot shots off without being at the brunt of the front here. The brunt of the front. And so the 5th Corps, that's going to be elite archers, right? We want high-level archers. And those guys are also going to be doing major damage as they shoot guys off their horses. Right, so you can start to see what this looks like, and we will use the RTS mod for this episode. This one's a little bit harder to see. Admittedly, the kill box is a little harder to see, but I've done that one in detail before using the RTS mod. All right, so we move our chevron forward here. It kind of looks like a military chevron. We got the Last Samurai music playing here as the enemy force barrels in on us. And again, we've got tier 4 units and below. I know I'm belaboring that point. But this is, you're not supposed to be able to do this. You're not supposed to be able to take on an army full of champions and Vanguard. Look at their forces, right? Banner Knights, Sergeants, 33 Sharpshooters. You're supposed to get smoked if you fight this strong of an army with the army we're fighting, right? With the army we're using. And we're not using incredibly dynamic tactics, at least not in my opinion. There's not a huge amount of movement actually required for this strategy. If you're playing the Aserai and you haven't tried something like this, man, just give it a shot, right? Especially if you're fighting against like a heavy cav-laden Imperial army or you know, a Valandian force just like this. I think you will fucking love this tactic. All right, so spreading him out, everything just like before. The skirmishers are over there on the right wing. Again, we're setting this archer division kind of out towards the back. They're not that important. Those are low-level archers, so they're not going to do that much damage. And the coup de grace here, the one last thing we're going to do to slow down the enemy process is we're going to use these horse archers in a square. Now, I know that seems strange, but we're going to stick them right at the top of this chevron. We can't have the enemy just bursting right through the most vulnerable part. And so we're going to stick those horse archers in a square right at the front of this of this formation. And you're wondering, they're not going to shoot arrows. I don't give a fuck. We're not worried about them shooting arrows. These murderers right here that I'm selecting, these guys are going to do the damage. These guys, the archers, the skirmishers, it's not necessary for the horse archers to do damage. What's helpful is exactly what they just did. The enemy like came up to them and almost didn't know what to do with it. They're sort of recycling for a charge here. They're sort of coming around to our left flank, and so we'll adjust some troops here, right? We can move some troops around. In particular, we will set up the skirmishers over here, get these guys hustled over. So now the enemy's charging, and look at how weak their penetration is, right? This is Banner Knights, etc. They don't even get through our second line of infantry. So at this stage, a lot of their cav is stood up. They're going to get shot to pieces by archers. We're pulling the horse archers back because they're just going to get mauled by infantry if I don't do that. And now we unleash hell. The third corps is told to charge, and all these two-handed axe motherfuckers just attack and kill everything in sight. We can send the skirmishers and this second cav on the other wing here. We can have them attack as well. Now it doesn't look like much, right? It kind of like you're like, what kind of strategy is this? It just looks like you hit F1, F3, sort of, right? We have defensive structures within this formation, and there are specific units like these two-handed motherfuckers just killing. I see them killing Volgiers and whatnot. You know, these two-handed weapon guys are not high level, but if there's a bunch of them compacted, used in the correct way, they absolutely lay waste to the enemy. The death spam has turned decidedly green. That's one of my favorite sayings. It's one of my favorite occurrences in a battle. The archers are basically free for the most part back here. At this stage, we can tell those guys also to charge, but it doesn't matter. The enemy's being swallowed up here. It's a concentrated attack as well. The other thing that obviously goes into this is 7 out of our 8 units are now attacking. Meanwhile, the enemy archers are way back there, and they have a bunch of other cav that are kind of panicked and running all over the place. And again, it may not be a wildly decisive battle, but when you consider the fact that, look at how many horses are just fleeing, they're either fleeing or they're dead, the riders are dead. When you consider we don't have tier 5 units or 6 in our army, that just makes this victory and this margin of victory all the more overwhelming, right? Now we've got to deal with these sharpshooters. They've got 130 sharpshooters. Well, it's not all sharpshooters, but they have 130 crossbow, and I think I remember it was like 33 or 35 crossbow. They still have Banner Knights charging us here. So we're going to systematically move up and destroy these guys, but this is no easy task, right? They got their sharpshooters out front, and they're firing away. So we're bringing our units up and shield wall. And there's a couple reasons we're doing that. We have our archers behind them. These sharpshooters are going to run out of ammo. If my memory is correct, even experienced generals like me fumble. I noticed some death spam in my third corps. These savage two-handed motherfuckers, I forgot to put them back on their leash. So a bunch of those guys got shot to death, chasing after the enemy like rabid dogs. These sharpshooters are now going to start to run out of ammunition. Here's where this entire second phase of this battle changes, right? Now you have sharpshooters with no ammo, and they're decent at melee, but we're going to put archer flanks on the enemy and move up with the powerful center. The center is a combination of heavy cav, jav cav, infantry, and shock troops. And these guys, a lot of these guys are done shooting because they're out of bolts. I think they have 24. something like that. And they've got some banner knights kind of trying to anchor their formation. These guys have no chance, right? Our archers here very soon are going to start lighting them up with death spam, and the enemy can't counter. They don't have arrows left. Meanwhile, we do, right? Actually, I see some of my archers are out of ammo. It's kind of a mix. Some archers clearly have ammo, some don't. It looks like more of my archers in the 5th Corps, which is, of course, those are the units that were further back. They have more ammo than the 4th Corps. All right, now they're shooting. Look at the death spam. Right, the death spam is going definitely in our favor, and now our infantry lines are going to hit theirs. Right, we're actually peeling back here a little bit just to kind of suck them in further. And now we're going to attack. A concentrated effort. All of our units attack. My cavalry ran the wrong way here. I'm not sure if they're drunk or cowards. We'll pull them back, though, towards the actual battle here. I'm manually doing that. Our archers are lighting up the kills here. We're shooting them on both flanks. We're suffering losses, right, because we are attacking sharpshooters with low-level cav, low-level infantry and whatnot. But I have no question that this battle is over at this stage. Look how many archers we have still firing away. Right, the enemy's barely able to deal with our infantry at this stage. Now they're having cav. Finally, this cav is correctly cycle charging into the back of the enemy. Guys are getting knocked to the ground. They're getting shot, and very soon they will be routing. This guy's fucking coward. I want to kill their. I see their commander running around the battlefield. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. If somebody else doesn't get to him first. Arcor or whatever he is. I want to see if I can find this fucking guy. He's got a silvery helm on. There he is. He's his horse. Kill this motherfucker. Alright, so my cowardice commander sat out the battle. Of course, it was because I was using the RTS mod. He enters the battle to slay their commander, right? Now he gets mistresses and whatnot, and we are victorious. Not hugely, but considering we have no tier 5 and 6 units, I think this is a huge victory. 30 banner knights down, 30 something sharpshooters down, and the sharpshooters did major damage, right? They looks like 6 of them fled, and they killed 61 guys. But the sharpshooters, you know, their elite units are going to hurt us. They're going to punish us. It's not like we could just fight a flawless battle. But to win this battle with no tier 5 and 6 units, I think speaks volumes to how strong good tactics can be in these situations. You see the sharpshooters here, 61 kills, and we killed 20, looks like 27, looks like 6 of them ran off. And again, you don't see any palace guards here, you don't see any veteran Ferris, Vanguard Ferris. You know, imagine if you use these same tactics with the high level troops, obviously you're going to be able to be even more successful. You're going to be able to take on forces twice your size, right? So this is a relatively easy tactic, I think. I've gotten some pretty good feedback about it. A lot of guys say they used it right away and they've experienced success, right? So I don't have a lot of doubt that you too can add this to your repertoire and have success as well. All right, so with that complete, 2 successful challenges here. I'm going to reload this in a second and we will do the Khuzait. I'll save you a little bit of time this time. All right, all loaded back up, and we're going to fight with the Southern Empire. Sort of simulating a battle that would happen in this area. In fact, it's in a swamp that's kind of in between the Northern Empire and the Khuzait. And again, you notice I don't have any tier 5 or 6 units in our army. Meanwhile, they have Khan's guards, right? They have Khuzait Keshegs, and we're eschewing both the Cataphract and the elite Cataphract, right? We have a very mediocre to weak army, and they have their full assortment of killers, right? They have marksmen, etc. The amount of units is the same for both armies. There's no way we could do this if we were outnumbered like 40%. This alone should be impossible. Most people are incredulous that we're even challenging Khan's guards with tier 4 units. But I've got some ideas here. We're going to use a pincher attack, and we're also going to do shield and shock. Shield and shock, again, is where you have shock troops behind heavy cav or behind first infantries. And it's highly effective, right? The defensive infantry takes the brunt of the enemy attack, and then the next thing you know, kind of sneaking through the little channels in the battle are these maniac Manavliatons swinging their giant polearm, and they're at full health, because they were behind strong infantry lines, right? Better yet, they slow the infantry down, troops ahead of them, the cav or whatever, slows the enemy cav down, rather, and then that cav is stood up and moving slowly for our Medavliotons to wail away. So the 7th Corps is going to be a weaker cav line, and the idea basically is this. Stretch this 3rd out. That's giving me a hard time here, but understand this is the 2nd Division is our best cav, and we're going to put about 45 shock troops behind these guys. These guys will man the left flank, and my plan here is to pin the enemy against those walls. You see those little cliff faces? If we can have the enemy come in here and sort of turn them towards those walls, we'll then be able to press them against the walls there, charge them with cav, and then destroy them with shock troops. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we're going to anchor that with two infantry divisions. The first is just the heavy tank division, right? Shield, spear, sword guys, and then behind them skirmishers, and they will be assisted by the 7th Cavalry, right? The 7th Cav is over there to slow down enemy cav and to generally absorb arrows and whatnot. All right, so I'm going to pause while I start this and get the camera into a good spot here. I'm still kind of configuring and getting used to the camera with the RTS mod. It's incredibly valuable. You can do slow-mo, you can do all kinds of things. But for this case, of course, what it is instructional. You can see the swamp out here, and I'm basically going to try to give you a bird's eye view of what we're doing here against this Khuzait force. So that's the 5th. The 7th goes out in front, and we don't want our archers actually that far out in the swamp. We want the enemy slowed down by the swamp, but we don't want our guys in the swamp, right? We want to use every single advantage we can have, that those cliff walls over here, the swamp, to slow down the enemy. And we're going to try some shield and shock and concentrated attacks on the enemy. Also vital in this battle is to sort of keep their archers to keep their horse archers and their heavy cav off of our archers here, right? We've got about 180 archers. Actually, we've got 200 archers. 40% of our army is archers. And if we can keep those archers free and clear, they're going to do a lot of our dirty work in killing their horse archers. Of course, that's the major threat against Khuzait, always, right? You're always going to be facing at least a quarter of their army, usually closer to half, is horse archers. All right, so over here we're compacting our units. I see horse archers. They're charging the right flank. This is highly unusual behavior. Usually they circle. It might be because maybe they got a spy. They don't want to charge our left because they know we're going to press them against those cliffs. But we'll see how this develops. This is interesting. I might have to come up with some tactics on the fly here if they don't cooperate with what we're anticipating. Now you hear all the arrows hitting our shields here. They're sort of skirmishing right here on our right flank, and a heavy cav division is pressing in behind them. This is very interesting. They also have infantry pressing in as well. It's like an oblique order. They're putting all their units on one side here, trying to break our flank. All right, we're going to charge with the first. We're going to charge with the first, and the 6 skirmishers we're going to hold at range. Those guys can throw their. Yeah, the death spam is bad, but the battle's not lost yet. All right, let's get the 7th and let's close it in over here. Having a hard time moving the 7th. If I can get this 2nd cav and these shock troops and pinch the enemy here, we basically counter their oblique order, right? We can get these shock troops and this 2nd cav line. Look at these shock troops are coming up untouched. And now these guys can be told to attack. The enemy's sort of bound up on our 1st and 7th over there, and the death spam just turned in our favor. These shock troops are absolutely destroying everything in sight. Our archers are doing good work, and hell, our heavy cav is getting some kills. It's chaotic. Now their horse archers are going in between. That's a very bad decision because they're getting crossfire now from our archer divisions. The way our archers are positioned, these guys are getting absolutely raked by our archer divisions. I see guys getting fucking shot off their horses. This is unexpected, but we're adapting to what the enemy's done here, and we are massacring them. The death spam is so wildly in our favor. Normally horse archers like to circle. Instead, they charged the gauntlet there. They charged right between our 2 different archer divisions and effectively got crossfire suicide. I mean, that reminds me of some of the stories you hear from the Napoleonic War, where whole divisions were cut to pieces by cannons in like 4 minutes. I think most of their horse archers just died. I see some are riding around still, but that was a devastating crossfire effect for them. And of course, we completely countered and destroyed their oblique order attempt on our right flank. An oblique order is where you try to overload one of your flanks. Frederick the Great was sort of famous for pulling this off. Other generals over the course of time have used it. This motherfucker. I'm gonna take some of these cons guards out myself. I can't help it. You basically get the gist of the strategy there, and it's driving me crazy that these cons guards are running around. I'm gonna do some killing with this gal. Fucking asshole. Oh, she's got a slow pole arm. But I think this battle's already over. I mean, we devastated their flank attempt. They've got a bunch of archers still, which is gonna be a problem. But I think this battle's over. I don't know if you're shocked. I'm more shocked. I can't believe how easy they just disintegrated there. I'll have to go back and make sure they had all their units there, but I'm pretty sure they had cons guards. I'm pretty sure they had marksmen and access to all the elite troops. So that was like 100-something tier 5 and 6 units, and we just disintegrated them with tier 4 and below. Their archers are a major problem here, these marksmen, but I've got 2 cav corps that are still in really good shape. Incredibly, the shock troops are in pretty good shape. Both archer divisions can be told to charge, and of course we're also going to bring up the skirmishers here just to provide another wave of shields. And now I think it's have fun and kill Khuzait kind of field trip day here. We're gonna punish these fucking punish these marksmen and whatnot for attacking our force, stab a few of them here. And celebrate our victory. I think this battle's over. So this battle of the 3 that I had planned for this episode, I did not think we were going to win. Well, I especially didn't think we were going to rout the enemy like this. I'm a little shocked at this result. Still, you know, we've got some good tactics going on, and the enemy made mistakes, right? The enemy basically suicided their horse archers. The positioning of our archers was such that they... Oh, these fucking cons guards. Fuck you. Where's this gal's polearm? I thought she had a polearm. She's got a spear polearm, but I swore she was swinging it like a glaive. Anyways, the enemy basically kind of killed themselves here. Obviously, we used good tactics. Obviously, we flanked quickly and destroyed their main force. She does have a swing up. There we go. We can get some. This is more my style. My main character in the campaign has a swingable polearm. Now we can behead some fucks, kill some of these cons guards, because this battle's over. We can have a little bit of fun here before we wrap this episode up. It's a really slow polearm. I'm not used to this kind of a fucking slow polearm. Was it my imagination, or did she say, fuck you? She beheads the guy, fuck you. I swear that's what she said. I'll have to rewind that. That's hilarious. Anyway, so hopefully this episode, we've been doing this a lot. I've got all kinds of productions of late that are emphatically trying to show players out there in Bannerlord that tactics not only are dynamic and will help you win, but they're fun, right? This is what the game is really all about. I think when they made this game, they did not make this game for people to build castles and, upgrade the fucking walls and stuff like that and feed your peasants and you know, they designed this game obviously to be a bit of a sandbox, but I think the main value of Bannerlord is the incredible diversity of landscapes and unit types for tactics, right? For battlefield tactics, which happens to be my bread and butter, hence the reason I have a channel now on YouTube. I never would have thought I would be saying that today. I've studied military tactics for a lot of my life, and I've played a lot of military type games like this where tactics has always been a major part of the reason I played, and obviously the reason for success. Yeah, there's no question. They have all of their high level units here, Dark Hands, Cons Guards. They had 26 Cons Guards get killed, and they only got 42 kills. They had 35 marksmen. There's no question. We had mediocre units here, tier 4 and below, and we mangled a Khuzait force. 239 survivors. I mean, that is just astonishing. I don't know. I probably couldn't repeat this effort, but there you have it, folks. You see tactics in effect here. Our militia got some kills. You know, we're fighting with militia. Now, of course, they had some militia too. But I gave both sides militia, just because a lot of battles you do have militia. But we have no tier 5 units, no tier 6 units. They have lots of them, and they're all laying in the marsh, right? We just eviscerated them. So finishing that point, though, tactics are a beautiful part of Bannerlord, and there's a huge variety of different tactics you can pull off. It's literally like a chili cook-off. There's 100 different recipes or 1,000 different recipes, and a lot of the chilies are delicious. Now, some of them are nasty, right? There's bad tactics out there. I could have just given you an example of it right there by the AI. That was bad tactics. That would have been chili that gave you diarrhea and tasted bad at the same time, right? Like horrendous chili. Maybe some food poisoning to boot. That was not so good. But the point is that you can take an amalgamation. You can take some of the ingredients from our chili cook-off here and implement them into your own cooking at home, right? You can take a little bit of the tactics that we show on our channel, or a lot of the tactics we show here, and hopefully you're back on in a week commenting about how you're destroying everybody, how you're so much better than you were before, because that kind of stuff just makes my day. So please subscribe and like and all that kind of good stuff. I appreciate you for watching, friends. I'll talk to you guys next time.